Hi everyone, I'm Rati Banerjee, founder of the Soft Movement and a young girl from Bihar currently living in Delhi. I am also an Ashoka Young Changemaker as well as CDF fellow, and I'm working towards SDG 13, specifically aimed at ground level activism. And one of our major projects aims to change the relationship people have with plastic through our paperback project. It's an honor for me today to host this session and celebrate 10 years of the International Day of the Girl Child. In the last 10 years, there has been increased attention on issues that matter to girls, and more opportunities for girls have their voices heard on global stage. In today's discussion with our esteemed panelists, we will bring the experience and voices of different activists, individuals, and social impact organizations working for the benefit of girl children and adolescent girls. Please join me as I welcome our panelists. Rati Mishra is the executive director for Milan. Rati has over
Yeah.
2 decades of experience. Hey, Rati.
Hi.
Uh, Rati has over 2 decades of experience and has been an evangelist for the rights of persons with disabilities and gender based issues. She has left successful forays in fundraising, advocacy, communications with the organizations she has been associated with, such as the National Center for Promotion of Employment for Disabled People, Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled, and Special Olympics Bharat, Reach to Teach, etc. She actively advocates for women's leadership, gender, and disabilities to drive gender equality in the lives of women and girls in undeserved communities and has participated as a speaker at the international forums such as the United Commissions in Geneva. Welcome, Rati.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Even I'm very happy to host you. Next, we have on the panels Ms. Neha Banerjee, lead content partnerships from Daily Hunt. Sneha has worked within the news and media ecosystem for close to a decade now. Congratulations on that. Within the capacity of a business journalist and media investment associate, and currently manages content partnerships and media driven editorial projects for Daily Hunt. Apart from this, Neha has actively volunteered with organizations such as Facebook, ACT Grant, Yunus, and Social Business for editorial and digital literacy driven agencies. Welcome, Sneha.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Next, we have Ashish Birgi, the founder and CEO of the Mass Project Foundation, with us. Hey, Ashish. Ashish Birgi is the founder and CEO of Mass Project, an award winning social media enterprise building a global community of young social change makers and leaders. He is a scholar from prestigious Lee Kuan Yew U School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore. Ashish's passion is to empower and upskill young people to drive change by providing them with access to the right network, right opportunities, and the right technology. Welcome on board. Next, we have with us Aditi Arora, who is the country manager, Girl Up India, as well as a Forbes 30 under 30 from Asia. Aditi is India's country manager for Girl Up, a movement founded by the UN Foundation in 2010 to support UN agencies that focus on adolescent girls. Girl Up says it has empowered over 10,000 young change makers across 200 Indian cities by raising awareness and advocating for issues including gender based violence, period poverty, and mental health. The institution also aims to train young women in skills including STEM and storytelling. That was for the introductions, and I'm really happy to host this panel. So, is there anything any of you would like to add? If I'm sorry if I've missed anything.
Firstly,
No,
I
no,
think
those were perfect.
yeah, Devashri, thanks, and just wanted to share greetings for this special day today as we mark the International Day of Girl Child. I think coming from an organization where our largest I think workforce is led by very young women. I think it's a day special for all of us at MASH, and over the years I have learned so much from my colleagues, a lot of young women, a lot of young girls. So yes, each one of them inspires me every day. And today, really looking forward to this discussion to learn from my fellow colleagues and take this message of empowering all the girls that we have in India and across the world. So yeah, very excited for this, the vision.
Thank you so much. So moving ahead with the talking points or discussions that we are here for today. This question is to all of you. What do you think has intrigued you to specifically work towards the empowerment of young girls and adolescents? Why do you think there's still such a need to work towards the girl child in India?
I, I can start if it's okay. Yeah, I thanks, Yunshi. I think I've grown up in a family of very powerful women, right from my grandmother to all my cousins right now, and what I've constantly believed in is that educating women, empowering women is equivalent to empowering women, which because by educating you're giving them the capability of earning a livelihood from themselves and becoming independent. So I've always believed in the notion that being self-sufficient and financially independent is very, very important for women in general. So that always has kind of somehow taken me to directions where I can contribute towards uplifting women in whichever possible way. And today I'm very proud to say that I work in an organization where Daily Hunt is also a very equal organization where we have equal, where we have a lot of women workforce working for a common objective. And I guess, yeah, I think I draw inspiration from every corner and every opportunity that comes my way to uplift women and empower them to be self-sufficient.
Of course, family does play a very, very important role, Sneha. In fact, even I look up to my mother, and I think it's very important for young girls to have women role models who are leading the way. So
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I'm really thankful that you are doing that with Daily Hunt. Aditi, Girl Up as an organization has been able to reach educational institutions, the hub of student and youth politics. During COVID, however, these spaces of dissent were revamped immensely. How do you think this impacted knowledge as well as alternative voices for false information in the ecosystem? I'm sorry, like, was my
Yeah, I
mic
can
not?
hear you.
I'm
No, I
sorry.
could hear you. I could hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Am
can
I
hear
Yes,
you.
Hello.
we can.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that question. And just to add on to that previous question as well, as Neha said, it's all of this stems from personal experiences and lived experiences of being a young girl in India and wanting to make sure that our girls have equal rights and opportunities to live to their full potential. Um, And I was reading the other day, it was a report by UNICEF. It said that, India is home to the largest number of child rights in the world, which is almost a third, which is, 223 million, which is a third of the global total. Um, and India ranks in the global gender gap report of 2021. We've ranked 140 out of the 156 countries. So there is no country in the world where women and girls are equal or enjoy the same rights as boys and men. And for me, that was my motivation to sort of work and work with young girls. And the world is, rapidly changing. We are facing new and complex and integrated problems and issues that require new solutions, that require new leadership. And we are expanding girls' rights, skills, and opportunities to lead. We're changing the face of leadership for generations to come. And we are envisioning a more equitable and just world for girls and women, which benefits all people. Um, and to your specific question about, how during the pandemic
The education.
um, yes, yes. So of course, during the pandemic, everything changed, right? We all know that everything and everyone who had access went online, including schools and colleges and workplaces. And Gulab was not different. Our program design pivoted and we were digital first. And we leveraged social media and we revamped our online community to ensure that girls could still continue to advocate, to still continue to agitate and train and connect in a way that reflected the reality of the world. And there is no longer any distinction between the online and the offline
Yeah.
world now. The lines are blurring. And our girl clubs have been able to use this space to talk about serious issues like menstrual equity, about sexual reproductive health rights and justice. They've been able to advocate with policymakers for better opportunities for girls in their community. Um, and we've been very mindful of who and what goes up onto our online community to avoid spreading that misinformation. Um, and we do realize that, while for majority of our girls, they had access to smartphones and even a system, we did realize that certain segments were being left behind.
Yeah.
So a lot of our girl clubs fundraise for smartphones. We donated refurbished laptops to ensure that girls from even marginalized communities could continue their education and access these spaces. So that's what we've been doing, and I hope we continue to do that and join other stakeholders to ensure that girls have equal rights and equal access to things.
No, I've seen you, I've followed your work since the very beginning. And now that I see that every school, every college has a girl up club, that and that shows how much of leadership has been imbibed in the society, how new girls, new young girls are taking up positions. So that's very, very important. And also, Aditi, like you mentioned about the lines blurring between the online and the offline, I also think that there has been a positive shift because of the online systems. Now, like there are so many things girls couldn't talk about at offline forums, but now they have an online space where they can come up with their own ideas and share whatever they feel and voice their opinion. So, I think that's very, very nice, and we are very privileged to live in a community where the online is blooming so much. We have so much more access now than the previous generation, I believe. um like you mentioned about the network, the network that young people and girls have through these forums. So my next question is to Ashish Birgi. The network of social sector is not dominated by the youth. What challenges do you think these young people face in creating an ecosystem that remains run for and by the youth? And how do you think it is different from the way the social sector is run by the older generations, the previous generations, for a better word? Yeah.
God. Thanks, Divij, and it's like I said, very inspiring to share this platform with such inspiring women today. I think talking about the communities or the networks, right? Young people are the future, so no doubt we all have to take a lead. Definitely, there is a different kind of energy that we bring, different ideas, new innovative ways of doing things that young people are bringing, right? So if you look at all important discussion forums, right? I was at the UN General Assembly a few weeks ago in New York, and there is like so much inclusion of young people happening at all levels, right? From it's a top to bottom approach that we are doing, and I want to just bring in an aspect, since we're talking about young women, you're talking about young girls today, right? I think I have seen such fantastic stories, like from the big names like Malala to Greta, but like young people, young girls like you, they were doing. Like I know I've met you a few months ago. It's so inspiring that such young girls are taking charge, right? So one is definitely talking about youth inclusion, but another aspect is having more young girls being part of important platforms and forums like these, right? So again, not boasting, but definitely one of the things that we do at MASH is to have give a chance for more youth representation at important platforms and forums, right? We try and partner with some very important platforms, discussion forums, and try to get more youth voices there. And the idea is get more and more young girls to be a part of them, because I think like it's a famous saying, like you educate a woman, you educate the entire family, right? So is the case. Like if you more women are empowered, I think there is a larger impact,
Community.
ripple impact. Yeah, we see across the channels, right? So I know it's a little off what you asked me in terms of getting more young people, but I do want to emphasize the fact that there is definitely a need that we get more and more young people be part, either leading social impact focus initiatives or organizations or any walks of life, right? But there has to be a more and more deliberate effort being made at all levels, starting from the policymakers to at our families to workspaces. At all places there needs to be a more deliberate effort to be done, and no doubt amazing work being done by Gala, Milan Foundation, Daily Hunt, and so many more organizations who are coming forward. But we need many, many more role models. We need many, many more change makers to lead the work. There's so much to be done as we are talking about meeting our big sustainable development goals, the big targets that we have by 2030. And we're already halfway through our targets. It's been over 7 8 years now since we've already when we started committing. So just another 7 8 years more to go. So there is so much that all of us need to do, and that could only be possible if we all come together and create more synergies, build more partnerships, and all work towards the big goal of making our society more inclusive of many, many more young girls and women. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashish. I would like to also ask you that in the past 5 to 6 years, we all have noticed that um, the world of change makers is growing younger. Like there are like 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds who are coming up and taking starting their own initiatives. And in fact, this question is to all of you, not specifically Ashish. So, have you felt being in the social sector? Have you felt there's a difference because these really young people are coming up? Has there been a system which has changed or something which has been altered or moderated? Anything on that? What's your thoughts on that?
I think I'll start and I'll request all the panelists to share their viewpoints. I think, Divya, I have seen this very closely being a young change maker myself. I started volunteering, during high school and then starting a social enterprise. I think definitely there's a lot of great examples, like I said, to promote more and more young people taking charge, taking initiatives, and it has definitely created a difference. It has made a difference. That's the fact that there is so much focus and investments being made towards getting more young people into the charge. But we need more and more access being made, right? We still see them at a very, very high level forums. We need to like really decentralize and start at like at a panchayat level, at a local constitution level. There are certain initiatives to have more youth voices at a decision making level. We should have, like we talk about so many reservation bills, but there should be a specific focus which brings more youth voices into this, right? Both youth voices and more young girls representation at these forums, right? So we need a bottoms up approach, right? I think that will really, really shift things for us. But happy to hear from other panelists. Yes, Sneha, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Ashish, and rightly you mentioned about women and spoke about access, and I feel that because of the digital boom in India and globally, it has given access and also amplified the voice of women across different sections of the social pyramid that we have. Say, for example, the recent question that was asked to an IAS officer, and that the rage and the voice that little
Outrage.
girl, young girl, had about. She asked a very valid question. That voice was further amplified because of the digital ecosystem that we have today. A girl from a very small part of the country today had a voice which kind of resonated across the country, and I'm sure globally as well. So I think the digital ecosystem, with the digital ecosystem maturing so much, women of different parts of the society today have the access to kind of voice their views on important issues. You can just voice it over a social media platform, sign up petitions, start your own online venture, volunteer for online initiatives. Ashish and his team that do a lot of it. Today, Daily Hunt, for example, has a dedicated section just for women related content, And the reason we are doing this is only because it kind of bridges the gap between different sections of the society pyramid that you have today. So I feel the digital boom is one of the main reasons why today women across different ecosystems feel empowered and have a voice that they can, utilize efficiently.
Beautiful. Thanks,
I'd
Neha,
like
and
to come
let's.
in here if I
Yes,
could.
Ratima.
So
Yes, no, no, definitely.
while there are all these young girls being celebrated everywhere, I'd like to just talk about the Milan experience. We work for and with adolescent girls in rural areas. We work to empower them, and for us, these girls not really seen in cities and on high-profile forums. The kind of change the our girl icons and our girl leaders are able to bring about, and these are all adolescent girls. So in back home in the villages in which they work, they are the change makers, totally uncelebrated, unfortunately, in the larger scheme of things. But it's so heartening and so encouraging to see the kind of changes and the kind of attitudes they're able to change, and that I think gives us a lot of confidence that we're on the right path.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
if I could
Please,
just
please
add
go
on
ahead.
to what Rati ma'am and actually what Ashish said, Girl Up 2 is also just talking from my experience. We are a youth-led, youth-driven organization altogether. We have created institutionalized teen advisory boards where our teen advisors and our young girls feed into our program, and Milan has a very similar program called the Girl Icon program, where we work directly with young girls, um, and make sure that their voices are being integrated into our program design. Um, Additionally, I also think that we need a bit of intergenerational dialogue. It's very, very crucial that we also learn from our seniors and build that connection. So my experience has been, and I started Girl Up. I was working with Girl Up when I was a youth, and I no longer am a youth, but I feel like it's important to build that bridge, um, while also bringing to the forefront the voices of our young girls. So just summarizing what Ashish and Rati ma'am actually really said. So
Thank you so much for your views, but there's this one thing which I would like to share. So we all spoke about the girl who voiced her, like who questioned in Bihar. It's a story from Bihar, right? She asked the IAS officer about sanitary napkins should be provided. But again, this is the positivity in that the girl has come up and she is asking and she's so straightforward. But again, the IAS officer was really rude to her. She just banished that, okay, this should not be done. So how do we address that, especially for tier 2 states like Bihar? Because that was like, if that continues to happen, a lot of these young people would get suppressed eventually. So how do we fill those cavities?
I think since I mentioned about this, I think the fact that her voice resonated and was supported on digital platforms by multiple stakeholders across different sections of media, or the social network, that itself shows that there was enough and more support that was given to her and her voice, and it resonated with a lot of women across different age groups. I know that the answer that she got was not appropriate, but look at the power of digital media and how her voice spread and how she got that support. I think the support is what is necessary. One person kind of canceling her question out does not mean that the rest of the tribe did not support her. I think there was a panel by a lot of women journalists who came up, and there were a lot of other stakeholders who supported her and kind of really celebrated the bravery and her fearlessness of asking that question. So I think it's high time that we support each other irrespective of whether we know each other whether we know that particular girl personally or any other woman, for example, and not support only when a celebrity talks about something, but also the common woman when she talks about something. It's equally important for both the genders to come together and support that woman or any other voice for that matter. So I think that is what is very important here.
And I'd just like to add there also, I'm so sorry to jump in, but the fact is that girl brought up the question. She was obviously brushed off in a very, very ungainly manner. But the fact that she stood her ground, I mean, before anybody else came, the girl did not get cowed down. She stood her ground. She argued her way through. I think that is a celebration, and that is a change that we need to celebrate. That, and I
Yes.
think some things we're obviously doing right if we're able to, if we are empowering our girls to that extent.
And if you see, there were a lot of media interviews after that who interviewed that girl, and she was very fearless. So let's
Very
celebrate that
fearless.
instead of what the negative comment that came her way. The fact that she was so fearless and continues to be fearless about it, and are not apologetic about what she does, is something that is
I
celebrated here.
totally.
Yeah, absolutely. To think of that, and in fact, the fact that it was celebrated so much may also encourage some other girls to come up. And so, thank you so much for um, sharing your opinion on that. My next question is to Rati Mishra from the Milan Foundation. Milan Foundation, as well as the Milan Summit, aims to understand and bring together people from multiple tiers, from individuals to decision makers, in creating change on the grassroots level. We have come a long way. But what challenges do you think still remain in our understanding and implementation in the policies, and what are the hurdles which are faced even today?
Long question, long answer also. Actually, I'll try and be as brief as I can. So I think, like I said, Milan, we work with and for adolescent girls in rural areas. But I think, and I come largely from the disability sector, and my journey actually started by working with girls with disabilities. And from there, I just read more and more. And I think the first thing we realized is just the lack of disaggregated data. I think that is a great, because what we don't measure, what doesn't get measured, nothing gets done. And so we just turn that around to suit ourselves here to say what doesn't get measured does not get implemented. The second thing I think, which is very critical, and I think a big gap, is that while there's a lot of conversation, where is the money, where is the investment? And I think we really need to start talking that. And I think one of the reasons, one of the objectives of the Girl Icon Summit is really that currently, wherever you read or research, the spends on gender and especially adolescent girls are less than 0.5% of a CSR or a foundation budget. If we really have, if we are talking of the largest group, we're talking of the largest demographic group in a manner of speaking. And I think at some stage we need to have spends, or we need to have investments which are commensurate with the size of the population. At these investments, we can talk a lot, but really seeing the things converted on the ground is going to be that difficult. And I think that is one of the things I'd like to point out. And we have data to show what we're doing. So when we talk data, I think we really look at the kind of investment that I think this cause requires, with the seriousness that it deserves. So I think those are the two things that I would like to highlight. It's a huge battle for the girls. Very they work, they live in a very gender regressive sort of attitudes, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, not just with the girls, but to really bring about that holistic change in the communities that they live with. And I think it requires a lot of collaboration. It requires a lot of investment. It requires a lot of and I think also what is very important to some extent is what I think Ashish also touched upon, is the participation and representation of young girls. What impacts their lives, give them a seat on the table. I think that is something that we totally ignore, and we say, no, bache hai, brush them aside. But I think those bachas talk sense, and they tell us a lot of solutions that we can implement. So I think those are some of the things I'd like to highlight here.
Thank you so much, Rati ma'am, for sharing your experience. In fact, you were talking about investment. So there's this really cool thing which has happened in India right now. SEBI has launched a national stock exchange for the social sector. So I think that's totally a plus one to for all of us and more.
Yes, and
Um,
also the fact that the government is now talking about women and girls. So, I mean, let's leverage that. Let's piggyback on that. But there's a lot of focus on this, and I just like to see others also sort of join in, especially those, the policymakers and those that can invest and have the power to invest.
yes, ma'am, absolutely. We'll be. I'm really honored that today all of us are speaking about this, and probably a few years from now, all of this will be reality. So, and on that note, I have the final question for all of the panelists. We have come a long way, but where do we go from now? What needs to be implemented? What has been done, and what can be bettered for the future? Please share your thoughts on that.
I think who would like to go for Saditi or Rati, ma'am? You want to go first?
I'd really like to go first because I think it's very important. Like I said, disaggregated data is where it begins. Let's have the ministries tell us of what kind of services they're offering to and for young girls, adolescent girls, the kind of groups that we are working with, and let's have viable sort of systems to be able to track those delivery systems. I think that is very important. There is a lot available. The government is doing a lot. There are a lot of schemes, everything, scholarship schemes, etc. But are we able to? Are our girls able to tap them? Are they able to access them? Where are those gaps? I said unless we talk figures and unless we talk data, uh, how will we arrive at the solution? Otherwise. So I think data is where we need to begin from, disaggregated data, and being able to monitor, uh, where we are vis-a-vis that.
Yeah, just adding on to what Rati ma'am said, and I was smiling at that question because it's such a loaded and complex question. There's no, I don't think we can answer this in 5-10 minutes, and there's so much to unpack. But as Rati ma'am said initially, I feel it's all about partnership right now, and we must come together, the NGO sector, the government, the corporates, individuals, parents, teachers, everyone, people like young change makers like you. We need to hold hands, come together, and encourage and empower our girls. And that brings us back to the Girl Icon Leadership Summit that's happening on the 18th, where we want to unpack some of these conversations and get some action done. So, yeah, I think if that's it for me.
I would like to add here. I mean, we all spoke about women coming together. I think one of the key things that technology platforms, at least, and should really do is provide the right communication and right platform for women of different. And I keep stressing on this: women of across different sections of the society to engage, communicate, whether a young, Ashoka fellow like yourself, or different women from different age groups to come together, voice their opinions without any fear and any inhibitions. And with Daily Hunt, we have a dedicated section today for women, which is focused around women and women related content and voices. And then the summit that you're talking about, I think all this put together, there should be equitable communication for women across different sections of the society, and should have equal participation of both the genders, not just women. I think it's about time that men and women speak for the upliftment and empowerment of women in the ecosystem.
Okay.
And I totally agree with that, Sneha. I mean, that is a very key component. Sorry, Ashish.
And if I may add something, I think, like, I totally agree with what everybody said. And when Sneha ma'am mentioned how both men and women should come, I think we should look at the larger spectrum as well, who are not pink or blue or binary, and all of us should come together.
Thank you. I think, what should I say? There is so much already being said by such amazing, inspiring women who are here. But one thing I would like to highlight is, you know, if you just talk about numbers and data, if you look at the last decade we've had, I think the investments that have been made, we've seen such great example of women leadership, young girls, as we've already spoken about, that we see around ourselves, have done such tremendous work. But there's so much more we need to do, and the amount of investment, effort, and resourcefulness that we needs to be really, really accelerated at all levels, from the policymakers' sides to the institutional investments that are going, to making ways for more young women to be part of decision making process. It's extremely crucial because it's backed with data that women have done wonders, and when you are young, you are fully charged with the enthusiasm and the zeal that you have to do wonders, right? And if that's like captured at a young age, I think going forward it could create so much impact. And especially because of the recent events that we've seen, the COVID-19 pandemic, the war that's going on, the climate change effect, I think it has put all of us at a much greater risk, and especially the adolescents, girls, right? So more than ever, I think it's a collective responsibility for all of us to come forward, support these young girls who are going to be truly being the change makers of tomorrow, leaders of tomorrow, and really push the humanity forward. That's just some simple words from my side. And as a young uh, believer in the potential of young people, me and my organizations are very committed to work towards the cause of empowering many young girls. So let's on this girl child all come to come forward together, and let's focus on the decade of acceleration for our young girls. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashish, Aditi ma'am, Sneha, as well as Rati.
And we look forward to carrying forward this conversation on the 18th at the Girl Icon Leadership Summit. Do join us for that. We promise it will be a very rewarding, enriching, and learning experience.
Definitely, Rati. Looking forward to that.
Same here.
You're all our
Thank you,
partners. You
Devaju.
have to be there.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks. Bye,
Definitely,
guys.
yes. Thanks, Divya Joy. It's been great talking to you and for amazing, wonderful moderation. Any final
Thank you.
words from you?
No, I'm just really I was really excited and looking forward to this panel, and now I feel I've learned so much. Now I have so many more seeds which I'll be thinking upon. And when it's 2032 and we are celebrating 20 years, I hope all that we talked about today would be a reality then. So yeah, it was a great experience for me. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Ashish.
Thanks a lot to all the
Thank you.
panelists. Yes, a lot of work to do. So let's get started. See you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Bye
you so
bye.
much. Thank you, everyone.